Joe Biden's first sit-down interview is where? Drumroll please, The View.
The ladies.
With the ladies of The View, and I just have to say they absolutely loved him. They were like feeling so overwhelmed and happy and like finishing his sentences. The first video that we want to show you from it is Meghan McCain. This is the end of her she spoke for a minute talking about her dad and Joe Biden's relationship. She thanked him so much for getting in the race. And for those of you who don't know, Joe Biden's been through a lot of grief in his life. He lost his first wife and kid, and then recently his son Beau Biden died of the same brain cancer that John McCain died of. And here they are talking about that.
You know, Joe, that's not just on air. I call you the grief whisperer. I love you so much. I've called you more times than I'm sure people could probably imagine, because you really understand grief and pain in a way that I've never met anybody else in life like it. Does death ever get easier?
Yes. Look, there's gonna come, we've had our private conversations, there's gonna come a time when you think of your dad, you walk by that closet and smell that fragrance where he's there, or you pass something, a field that he loved, or when you sit there out in Arizona and that beautiful, looking over the creek, that you're gonna get a smile before you get a tear. And it's gonna happen. It takes longer for some than others, but it will happen. And that's when you know you're gonna make it.
So what do you guys are cringing. Are you cringing?
Yeah.
I'm not, I love that.
You love that?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's just,
I'd like to have that discussion.
In any real kind of opposition party, if in this country, if Meghan McCain was a supporter of you, you would be expelled from the party.
That is absolutely, I get it.
You know what I mean?
So
like if
Meghan
McCain, yeah, like if an opposition to a right-wing party. If Meghan McCain is supporting you, then you'd be immediately. I mean, if you voted for the Iraq War, you should be immediately jettisoned, which Joe Biden did as well. Yeah, this is like what this. There's a certain kind of like establishment person that just loves when like liberals and Republicans get together and put aside their differences to just like love each other, and I'm just over that.
What do you think?
What I think is that I don't like to dance on anybody's grave. So I'm such a comedian. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing it sometimes. But what I'm saying is like I think that it's so like when you hear him tell her, when you're looking over that beautiful thing in Arizona and you'll see a smile before you see a tear, you know that grief is something that's not exclusive to those two people sitting on that table. You know what I mean? It's something that we all experience, but to tap dance on people's feelings about this, which it just looks so disingenuous, one. And two, not, I felt bad for Meghan McCain losing her father to such a horrific disease. I lost my grandmother to cancer. But this whole idea, it just reeked of privilege is what I'm trying to say. And it just felt like, it's like when comedians say, I was homeless. All comedians have been homeless at one point. Like, what makes you feel, what does your homelessness become more special than everybody else's?
When you're sitting in that, I totally get it. When you're sitting on the veranda outside your estate, looking over the creek that is your creek.
Yeah.
It's not a wash in the city. You're in, and I've seen that backyard in some random other video from back in the day. And it is a gorgeous Arizona estate that the McCains have.
Meanwhile, in Chicago,
totally. Her dad died. That's her father.
Okay.
And I totally get all of that. And I totally get all the positions. And I feel like I'm the resident like Biden supporter here, even though I don't support Biden for this particular reason. That is Biden's skill that Hillary did not have. There is no way Hillary could sit down and do those politician speeches and say, your dad was a great man, and connect with someone. And if you're cynical, and you have plenty of reason to be cynical about it with Biden, but if you're cynical, you can shut it off. But if you are just sitting there watching The View, like I've done a million times, drinking your coffee, wondering when you're gonna get a job, and you hear Joe Biden do that, and there's people in the audience I heard during this interview just go, because they want that. That's what's missing.
But that's exactly what
theater.
That's exactly. It's theater. Like they're just using this kind of thing, which obviously like you don't want to. It's gross to like dismiss anyone's pain and suffering for personal tragedy, but that's not what politics is. Like this is a distraction from the real issues of politics. Like this is a great weapon that Biden has to change the conversation, to not have to like examine his own record and his own like heinous past. He can just kind of elicit sympathy from the viewers by playing this, and I find it cynical and kind of gross.
Yeah, I get it. He wants to unite people. You mentioned that, like bring everybody together. Here's a clip where he's talking about that.
You said that we are in a battle for the soul of this nation, and I felt that in my soul. What did you mean by that?
What I mean by that is we are not, this is not who we are the way we're treating people. It's not who we are as a nation when we're talking about things like the reason for your problem is the other. This is not who we are. There's an American creed. It's about decency, honor, including everyone, leaving no one behind. But the idea to compare is racist and not condemn them and the neo-Nazis and compare them to people who are genuinely decent Americans coming forward and saying, stop this. It was like, I don't remember that ever happening in an administration before in well over 100 years.
Joe Biden became a sort of a prominent politician in America in the 1970s by being the first Northern liberal to oppose school busing and integration, sort of giving cover to the Southern racists by like allowing other Northern liberals to turn against that issue. And then immediately did the Anita Hill thing in the 1980s, and then wrote the crime bill in the 1990s. So when he talks about like condemning racism and all that stuff, it's the most hollow thing in the world. This guy, his record is one of complete enforcement and strengthening of the white supremacist state in this country. Like it's just, these are all just words and they're nice words, but when you look at his actual record, it is one of enforcement and strengthening of white supremacy in the United States.
I also feel like I'm so tired of hearing celebrities and politicians have these deep conversations about the policies that are oppressing the everyday man, right? Like I felt that in my soul, with my $3,000 bag and my red bottom shoes going home. Yeah. Wait a minute, let me finish. Not that people that have money don't experience racism, but we're experiencing so many issues in this country right now that have to do with class, and we keep ignoring that the haves have it a little bit better than the have-nots, and all of that is it's at a higher, a higher impact and degree, and it's just these people who are at the table having these conversations about the rest of us are really starting to irritate me, because it's just like, oh well, this condemn racism while having brunch at the Four Seasons,
right?
You know what I mean? It's just it's starting to become obnoxious.
And you mentioned class, and Biden has somehow managed to get this reputation as a guy who can win over working class voters. Joe Biden has been the longtime senator from a state called Delaware. Delaware is the state where about, I think 50% of the Fortune 500 companies are incorporated. Why? Because Delaware is a tax haven in the United States. It's essentially a tax shelter, like Bermuda or Liechtenstein. So the number one job of any senator from Delaware is to cater to corporate interests, and if you don't do that, then you will be fired from that job. So Biden has spent his entire career doing that. I mean, famously, the 2005 bankruptcy fight that he defeated Elizabeth Warren on, basically making it harder for regular people to discharge their debts in bankruptcy, which was just a giant giveaway to credit card companies. That's what his entire record is on, but he somehow managed to fashion this folksy, kind of regular Joe guy.
Joe
it's
rides the train.
It's so fake and disingenuous that it's
specifically on the angle of the working class American, and Ida has reached the point of potentially exploding. I'm sorry that I already prepared this video of him talking about restoring dignity to working class Americans, but it's Friday, let's play it.
How are you going to get those voters?
Well, I think just by making the case that we have to restore dignity to work. We have to restore dignity to the way we treat people. I mean, think about this. The way we treat ordinary, hard-working Americans who are middle class and working class people fighting to get in the middle class is we treat them like they're a means to an end, as opposed to an ends in themselves. You all know it. Just go out. If you walk by, when's the last time we went out and thanked the guy who kept the sewer from overflowing and going into your basement? When's the time we went out and talked to the guy and the woman who's up on a bucket reestablishing a connection for a generator and says thanks?
The bucket, dude, really?
He followed up with a story of how he was in a t-shirt, the guy didn't recognize him. He says, I went up to a guy on a bucket. He went up to the guy on the bucket and said, hey, thank you for reestablishing this connection. And the guy said, are you serious? No one's ever thanked me before. That happened.
I love the idea of like Biden's big policy to restore working class wage, like working class dignity in the United States, is to just hire a bunch of those people that go around like college campuses giving free hugs.
Yeah, man,
you know, like as a Peace Corps, like a Peace Corps initiative where they hire a bunch of volunteers to just go around to like a garbage man and give him a free hug.
Could you stop building that housing community for people? Yeah. Could you just give people hugs instead? Yeah.
Let's talk about the economics. Let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the things we can implement to make people's lives better. And you keep your civility and your dignity and all that over there. And let's talk about meals and after school programs and teachers not using their own money to give their kids what they should be getting rightfully. Like I'm at the store at a dollar store to go buy these decorations because I shop at the dollar store. And I see this lady and I'm like, wow, you bought a lot of notebooks. She was a teacher. She was like, I have to buy supplies and stuff for the people in my class. So when you're talking about restoring dignity, you restore dignity by way of economics and things that are practical. The talk of civility that we continue to have all the time is just, for me, listen, you can say whatever you want to say about me as long as I have a right to live where I want to live how I want to live, have a job and feel safe and be able to go to the doctor. If you don't like me, good. I don't care. I don't need you to like me. What I want, we have to stop having this conversation about the we are the world conversation and let's get down and talk about the dollars, all right? Let's put some dollars in those buckets.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.